Hi everyone, today I'm gonna talk about how to refine a painting, and we'll do a demo as well as show you how this painting can be refined into the picture that we just saw earlier. So initially I uploaded a video about how to do a painting very quickly for plein air kind of a situation, or maybe a live painting situation. So it led to a painting that was just suggestive of what the scene was like, and this is that image, and we are going to convert it something like this, or maybe like this, which is more refined. And it's just a matter of time, but we will be focusing on things like these 4 points in modeling of surface for form, enhancement of temperature differences, saturation of color or chroma, suggestive detail, and retaining the sense of movement. And with this we are going to start refining the picture. So initially I'm just focusing on modeling, and this doesn't involve the block-in, because we have already done the block-in in the first stage. And I am also, as you can see, enhancing the temperature. I'm making things more cooler because they need to be in the distance, and also will be modifying the background a little. Here I'm also increasing the color saturation in these areas, making things more saturated but also cooler. This is a very beautiful green. Also I'm modifying the warm colors with yellow, and also trying to modify the form. So right now I am focusing on three things. One is modeling, second is saturation, and third is temperature, all happening simultaneously. So refining a painting is very subjective, but what I am planning to do is to create a painting that looks a bit more refined rather than heavily detailed. Here I am not interested in painting a picture that is indicative of all the blades of grass and the sun shining upon them, and none of those, but suggestive or indicative of what the scene was like, what the atmosphere was like, what the colors were, something like that, and create an illusion of reality. So you can see that I am again increasing the contrast here with black paint, and also there were some other colors which are also shining through. I'm also modeling the paint up to a great extent, so that there is some textural element, and using various brushes. Since I'm doing modeling, I am also focusing on what sort of strokes that I may employ, what sort of technique, that's what I mean, as well as what sort of equipment that I must use. The most of the brushes that I have are heavily modified. Here I am focusing on increasing contrast, but I'm using a particular kind of brush. This used to be a fan brush, but I modified it and made it extremely flat, so that it can even make a sharp line or maybe just a patch of color. You can see what sort of a brush is that. So even though I'm focusing on those four elements for this particular situation, I am also trying to remember what I was doing in the first stage, which is the block-in, and certain elements would also remain here. Here I am trying to add a few more details, so that it may be indicative of what is going to happen in future, and also tweaking the shapes. And you can see again the shape, value, temperature, technique, and right equipment. These are integral. You can see the right equipment. There is a brush which now has only a few hairs are also being used, and this is a heavily modified one. And we are doing the first stage of modeling. I am changing the land structure a little, using a flat brush to create a flat surface, and also some highlight. I am aware that what is the central focal point. Here I've started modifying the distant trees and some shiny areas, and will be leaving the bottom alone. Some distance marks and dots with tiny brushes that I have. This is a nylon filbert brush, great for little details. It can also create abstract shapes. Excellent brush. And you can see that I have started modifying the distant foliage as well, making them darker and lighter, playing with the temperature as well as the saturation as well as the shape. All are working simultaneously. Shapes are a big deal for me. If the shapes are not correct, then I'll modify them again and again. So I'm increasing the contrast here. I'm putting down some white paint so that the things are a bit more hazy and appearing in the distance, and will be increasing the saturation in the frontal section and also tweaking the shapes. So all these things are very useful, and you need to understand which brush is going to do what and how they can be used. So all of these things are important. So this is the mid-level block-in. Now we are moving on to a more detailed phase, and I have increased my palette. Initially I was doing my basic palette, but now it involves these colors, almost all the colors in the spectrum except for the violet, but I can also create the violet. So here again I'm trying to create the contrast as well as the saturation, and modifying the shapes further. Using, now it involves detailing as well. In the initial stage it wasn't about the detail, but now you can see there are suggestive detail. I'm using a rigger, but there are various other brushes as well. I'm using rigger brushes as well as the modified ones to create various shapes, but overall I have found that bristle brushes are the best, because the stray hairs create the abstraction, the randomness. And it becomes pretty easy to create abstraction. Here I'm solidifying the form of the land, increasing the temperature, contrast, and also focusing on detail, but I'm somewhat flattening the surface and also connecting the lighter areas along with the darker areas. As you can see that I'm putting down some highlights in the central focal point area, and that is the area where the eyes will directly go. So this area needs to be emphasized upon. Now here is something that I decided a little later, and I'm going to put some shadows in the front section so that the central focal point area is more clear to the viewer. So this is just like a tree shadow, and I'm going to put some warm colors on the edges and also some lighter marks in between. It must look like a flat surface rather than a round surface. So I have to paint accordingly. The section that is nearer to us should be darker, and the lighter section should be further away from us. And here I've started doing the detail, the grasses, etc., but these are still very suggestive in nature, not like one single line for one grass, something like that. We are ignoring that thing here, just indicating the lighter areas. All of these things may take time, and I just finished this in one day. But if you wish the painting to be very detailed, then it may take a number of days, because you may need to wait for the painting to be dry, then do the detail, etc. Here I'm working on some pebbles as well, putting them some yellow ochre marks and white highlights on top of them to create some sort of an illusion of reality. So this is the shot of the final picture, which is more refined compared to what it was. If you like this video, then please click the like button and also subscribe for future videos, and also remember to click the bell icon so that you get notified when a new video has been uploaded. Also remember to check out my website www.kaustavamfineart for more paintings. Take care.